One current Steeler that you wrote, an unnamed current Steeler. I don't like seeing AB blamed for all this. To me, he's not the problem. And then the next paragraph is, the problem, according to the player, is that the Steelers' locker room issues play out too publicly. That's number 7, Jeremy. I mean, let's not kid each other here. And so how many factions are there in this locker room right now?
Well, I've been in this locker room for about 4 years now, covering the team, and it's really very a normal locker room for the most part, where guys just come to work. But you have a few players that create a lot of the headlines, and so it can become an issue that way. And that player I spoke to, he was a staunch defender of Brown, as are many players, and that's sort of the layer to this discussion that makes it difficult, because on the surface, Brown has stepped over the line, and they all know that. But it was really just an accumulation of minor issues over the years, whether you're late to a meeting or, you might get a perk or start treatment that they don't get. But they all saw it as, for the most part, minor stuff, because he worked so hard when he was on the field and on his own training, and then he produced on Sundays like that. That to them was the equalizer. That's why they don't feel like he's the problem, because he's got a relationship with everybody in the locker room, and he is very well liked. And so you have, from what one player called a love-hate relationship with Brown and Roethlisberger. I think it's been mostly love, but what we've seen the last 2 years, and it has played out publicly, that there have been some issues, and so that is a dynamic that's hard to ignore. But even, it's not like Roethlisberger is demonstrative in the facility, and it's not like he's missing meetings here. That's been the issue with Brown lately. He's just not showing up, and so it is hard to blame anybody else in that regard.
So how can teammates say, yeah, we're cool with AB if he doesn't show up at the most important time, Jeremy? And that has been confirmed. Like, he did not show up at the most important time. I mean, and I've been around him. He's infectious, and I understand he's dynamite. Which also makes it confusing as to why he feels unloved when he's absurdly well paid. And folks like me and you and everybody else in our business, when we talk about who's the best receiver in the game, he is literally the first, if not second, words out of somebody's mouth. So how does this all work? I mean, how does it get fixed?
Right. Well, that's where you need some of the key locker room guys, the leaders, the veterans, to probably come together and just to say that this is something they can't take anymore. They might need to take that to Tomlin or figure something out. But you're right. It's a weird dynamic because, on one side they respect him, but the patience is starting to grow thin. I think they're supporting him because on some levels they have to, because he could very well be back here, whether they can't work out a trade or he has a good conversation with ownership or Mike Tomlin, they work something out. And so, they certainly want to be able to work with him, but you can sense the growing frustration, there's no doubt. And a lot of the old players or guys that maybe played with Brown earlier in their career and are now done and aren't on the team, they think that there is maybe a problem where, hey, the old locker room wouldn't have tolerated this. We had all those defensive leaders, Troy Polamalu comes to mind, Joey Porter once upon a time, but those kind of figureheads where, grievances were aired internally and you tried to work it all out. And so, they point out that maybe this locker room doesn't have that. I think this locker room would disagree, and this is probably a chance for them to do something about it. But they have, in a lot of cases, made apologies for Brown as well.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.